My name is Peter Knegt, and I'm here with Lido Pimienta, the host and creator of Lido TV, which you can watch in its entirety now on CBC Gem. Welcome.
Hello.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So I was rewatching a couple episodes last night. I rewatched Colonialism and Hate. I was just reminded it's so bold and transgressive and hilarious and like gloriously unhinged, and there's nothing else like it on the Canadian sort of media landscape, and I think Canada's very lucky to have this show. Do you want to talk a little bit about just the genesis of it, like where the idea came from and how that evolved into what we all can watch now?
Lido TV, I guess I've been working on it since I created art or made art. And one of my close collaborators in the show who designed the set with me, Gustavo Cerquera, we always thought that we just know that I'm a cartoon. So when pandemic came and I couldn't go on tour because I had just released my record, we were like, you know what, maybe this might be the opportunity for us to go back to visual art and video, and wouldn't it be fun if we had some kind of like variety show?
What a beautiful day to talk about colonialism. Juicy. How does it feel to be responsible for 9/11?
It just evolved out of necessity / boredom / I need to be creating, and we produced like a little music show, and it had some breaks that I would sell people my records. So I was like desperately trying to sell my records because now I can go on tour, and I know that a lot of people don't even have a record player, but you can see this record as my art, and if you like it, you can just stab it in my heart and put it on your wall. And then it would just increasingly get more unhinged, and we were like, you know what, this would be really good to have as a show.
Hi, and welcome.
Hey girl. Happy to be here.
Good for you. We got approached by Sean O'Neill, who became the showrunner of the show, and he's a really dear friend, and we just, got it together and pitched it, and now we have Lido TV Season 1.
And in addition to Sean, there's Sarah Hagee, Tim Fontaine, Ali Eisner, who does the puppeteering, and the legend that is Beverly Glenn Copeland. Do you want to talk a little bit of the collaboration on this set? It's like an incredible group of people, including yourself.
It's a small but mighty team. We just knew from the beginning that the curatorial decisions behind the people that were going to work on it, they needed to be correct. Just because of who I am in my body, in my person, people will say that I'm an activist, and I think that's hilarious because like someone that is so in love with shoes, like myself, should not be called an activist. But people will say that to me, so I was like, well, what do I want to talk about in this show? It's like I should talk about old tropes. So I was like, okay, we're gonna talk about feminism, we're gonna talk about hate, we're gonna talk about success, so on and so on. So not a lot of people can talk about racism or colonialism. Not a lot of people can talk about the things that we're going to talk about just because people are afraid, and we knew that we were going to be experiencing all this backlash, but more people have been so excited about it. So it was important to have somebody like Tim Fontaine and Sarah Hagee. I mean, I picked them, from the ether, and I gave Tim a call, and I was like, I want to do this show. Do you want to be a part of it? And he LOL'd and said yes. And then Sarah was like, really? What do you want me? It's like, because you know pop culture. So we got together and we created what it is, to me, the beginning of something that is going to be much bigger, because now we're really understanding our strengths. And I'm interested in also creating with people that have made the decision of staying. Yeah. And I think that's really important. And that's the only way that we can really just talk about how hilariously depressing it can get.
I think we are at a crossroads in Canada in which I feel like some people are finally willing to talk about all of these things that we should have been talking about for a very long time. But there's still some people that are just sort of refusing to do so, and with regard to the show, refusing to even watch it and then tweet about it without even realizing that it's not actually a children's show, because it's not actually a children's show. If you watch it for 5 seconds, you're well aware of that. But, some of this just seems so, intense. Like, how do you handle that kind of trolling, and how do you sort of let it go? Because I think it seems like it would be hard.
I'm a musician and I am pretty out there with my opinions and the messages in my music, so I'm no stranger to online vitriol. It's a part of my life at this point, and not just in Canada, but in the US, and even in South America. So I just know that the people that are behind the screen that have the audacity to criticize something so beautiful that they haven't even taken the opportunity to learn from, watch, at least understand like the pure basics of it, are not people that I have to worry about, because they hold no power over me, and once you understand that, you just move on, and I just focus on the goodness, and when we started getting the critiques, I riled up all the beautiful comments and all the beautiful articles that did come out of the after the show was premiered, and I just run with that, like I'm not gonna do anything with the negative, or rather the ignorant, because I am always open to critique. And even when we were creating the show, the same people that were working on the show with us, like they would like guide me and tell me things that I wasn't aware of. So I'm not really worried about trolls.
Yeah, they're trolls. Trolls are always going to be trolls, and they're not critiquing, they're just being trolls for attention, I think, most of the time.
Yeah, and you engage, you feed it.
Yeah. Well, let's focus on the positive, because I'm sure there's been lots of it. This show has been out since September. I saw it at the Toronto Film Festival, which is amazing that that you got to premiere there alongside all of these filmmakers. Do you want to talk about some of the sort of positive reactions that you've gotten in the last couple of months about the show?
The TIFF experience was wonderful, because you're watching with people that haven't seen it before, and you just hope for a laugh. Like, you just hope for people to giggle when they're supposed to be giggling, and that happened tenfold. It was an incredible experience, because we know that what we're doing is of quality. We know that what we're doing is fresh and necessary and hilarious. At the end of the day, to me, what's important is that we talk about these tropes in a different way. Like, I'm not interested in being like, like pointing the finger and being like the beacon of, I don't know, righteousness. Like, that's not what I'm about. But I know that people are feeling at ease when they watch it, and it's really about saying things without making people feel guilty, or making people feel like they don't know what they're doing. It's about being funny. It's about being irreverent. It's about just feeling the vibes. And to me, again, like, I cannot say it again or stress it enough. Like, I am really just beginning. So I'm going to continue to push, and it's going to be hilarious.
So one thing that's really clear to me watching the show is that you and all your collaborators are clearly making the show on your own terms, which I feel like is kind of rare in Canada. And it seems to me that, like, through your entire career and all of your work, you've been doing things on your own terms. And, look where it's gotten you. On Barack Obama's list of the best albums of 2020, a Grammy Award nomination, a Polaris Prize. But I think it's really hard in this country for people to do that. And I wonder if you have any advice for people who are sort of coming into their art, how they might go about doing it on their own terms and not falling into sort of the various traps that can make you fall away from yourself.
Yeah, I think that the best thing to avoid the traps of this already very difficult industry or career is to have a sense of self. I think that often a lot of artists that have a lot of talent and so much to show, they fall short because they're trying to imitate, and they are trying to be like shocking just because, I think that understatement is really wonderful, and it's nice to have nuance. So if a young artist or a starting artist or whatever, emerging artist or whatever are trying to find their voice, like they really need to look within. Just look within and really know yourself so that you know what you're saying and where you're going. There is this misconception that artists are messy, just messy people or flaky that don't really understand the meaning of responsibility, you know. If you want to make a living, you have to be responsible, you know. And the only people that I know that are quote unquote artists that have the privilege of, you know, not being consistent and not waking up early or being disciplined are people that, you know, come from money or have, you know, that like colonial wealth bag. But for the most of us that don't have the colonial wealth bag, or we're born into, you know, a wealthy family, we have to work, you know, and being an artist is about that. You know, it's about reality and about, as much as it is about your dreams, you have to pay rent, you know, like you gotta pay rent, you know, so yeah, consistency and discipline.
You said about the first season of Lido TV that you consider it kind of like a pilot. So what's the second episode look like in your head? Or do you think about that?
I think about it all the time. I don't stop writing. I feel like for season 2, we would 100% continue to have documentaries or small docs that happen not just in Colombia. I think for sure that's gonna happen.
I had to be this delicate flower when all I wanted to do was scream.
Thank you so much for being here, and please watch Lido TV. It's streaming on CBC Gem right now in its entirety.
Okay. Oh my God, I look like amazing, you guys.